Hello.
Hello,
I'm here with,
James Stokes.
and we're on suas. This is episode 3 of the podcast, which is a Kildare County Council initiative to promote the active bystander model amongst the public and to educate about racism in Ireland. Why don't you explain a bit about yourself?
All right. Firstly, thanks for having me.
No problem.
Secondly, to answer your question, as I said, my name is James Stokes. I'm 19 years old. I've lived in Newbridge my whole life, but I'm an Irish traveller. I come from that ethnic group. I have done a lot of activism in relation to being a traveller. Last year in April, I delivered a speech in the Seanad in relation to it in the Irish Senate because it's a very important topic and it's a group that is left behind by this government in almost every aspect of life. So I am James Stokes, I am myself, I have so many beliefs, but I am passionate when it comes to being an Irish traveller and fighting for a fair and just society for all.
As you should.
Yeah.
And growing up as an Irish traveller in Newbridge specifically, do you experience discrimination often or a lot?
Yeah, so I might not have the typical answer. So if you did this interview with 5 travellers, you'll get 5 different answers. So some people would use the phrase, but I don't use the phrase, but just so people would know it, some people use the phrase settled traveller. So that means they're not living in a caravan, they're not going around all the time.
Yeah.
I live in a home, I live in Newbridge, as I've said. So I went to primary school, did my 8 years, did secondary school, went to university as well. Not everyone looks at me and thinks I'm a traveller. So a lot of the time I went under the radar, even teachers and principals. And actually when I went back and did some work experience, the teacher said to me, I never knew you were a traveller, you should have told us. And
They were surprised.
Yeah, there's this extra support that was there. So in those cases, I went under the radar, but that, in my opinion, shows what do they think a normal traveller is? What do they think? What does a traveller look like? What do they sound like?
What's the stereotype? Yeah.
When I have faced discrimination throughout life, and I've seen it. So I'll speak personally to myself, and then some wider examples. So I ran in the local elections in June 2024. And my campaign launched, I think, in September 2023. So that's around a 9-month campaign. Because I was young, I wanted to utilise what maybe other candidates might not have had the skill in, and that would have been social media. So I was on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X. Even though I don't really like that app, but I was on it. I was on it anyway because that's where all the political people are.
Yeah.
And that's where I faced a lot of discrimination. So you'd see, and actually let me use the word racism. So this would happen a lot, where I would call out something that was blatantly racist against travellers, and the most common reply would be, travellers aren't a race, you can't be racist against travellers. But it is actually very specific that discrimination against any ethnic group is classified as racism, and travellers are recognised as an ethnic minority. To bring it back, so in the campaign, I faced daily discrimination online, but online I can handle. Some people can't, but I can handle. It's when I was canvassing, when I was on the doors. It didn't happen often, and the same thing of maybe going under the radar. There was one house I knocked on, and I'm not going to name anyone or what the estate was, but
you can tell me off camera.
Yeah, I'll tell you off camera. They said to me, so I gave my pitch, I'm running, and I don't open the door and say, hi, I'm James Stokes, I'm the traveller running for the council. I'm James Stokes, I believe in this, and this is why I'm asking for your vote. What issues do you care about? And one of them said, right, nice to meet you, but what are you going to do about them law? And I said, who?
Ooh.
They said, the travellers. And then they would use some of the slurs that are there. There's a wide range. And I know in that scenario I'm very uncomfortable. I don't want to jump in and say, I'm a traveller, because maybe I should have, I don't know, maybe people would have taken it differently. And maybe if I highlight I was a traveller, maybe she would see that they're not all the way she viewed them, but I didn't know how to respond in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So she told me the story of travellers doing this or that, whatever, and what's going to be done about them. And I just, when you're canvassing, you're still used to having the same conversation. So this one really threw me off.
Mm.
So I went back to where I would go if someone was just bringing up crime or whatever, and I was saying, yes, we need more Garda. But to think people could speak so openly, because everything this person said, might I say, was assumptions, because they didn't actually know the people. They lived on the other side of the estate, so it was all assumptions.
This like stories people hear,
Yeah.
rumors.
So I don't drink.
Mm.
Did you know I don't drink?
Yeah,
I don't drink. So there's no moral reason for it. There's no emotional reason for it. Don't like the taste. Never cared for it. But maybe my friend could be having a birthday party and do dry beans, or whatever the scenario might be. And I don't want to be there till 2 o'clock, but I'll go in for an hour, show my face, and whatever. They're my friend. I want to be there. Without doubt, every time Tabitha I've gone to some, they'll ask for your ID. Yeah, that's fine. Even though I'm not drinking, but yeah, I'll show it to you. Don't say that to them. Show them the ID. And 3 of my friends had just gone in after getting their ID checked. And they see the surname Stokes and they go, traveller name, obviously, in their view. And they're looking at it and they're saying, and then one time someone said, you better not be drinking, even though I'm 18.
Yeah.
And I went, well, actually, I don't drink anyway. And he said, okay, I'm going to come over and check. And if you are, you're out.
Wow.
And then there was another scenario where I just wasn't allowed in. I was refused entry, and I said, what have I done? And said, you were drinking here before and you broke something in the toilets. I don't drink alcohol. I go out to pubs once, a blue moon, like it's whenever there's a birthday or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't want to speak to personal stories that aren't my own, so I'll speak very broadly when speaking about this. But a couple recently, there was a funeral in the town for a young Irish traveller who lost their life in their 20s. Like me, lived his life in the town. Grew up here, went to school here, worked a job while living in the town. And every pub in Newbridge, now I won't say every in case I'm wrong and there might be 1 or 2, most of the pubs in Newbridge would not open their doors. They'd close their doors. 5 p.m, 8 p.m, 11 p.m, the doors were locked.
Because they didn't want travellers in.
They did not want travellers in. And that is just, I don't know, so blatant, and I feel like it wouldn't be as accepted if it was any against any other group. And not to put down any group, I don't mean it in a way of division. I mean it in a way of, it's just not acceptable. And if we want to be a just and fair society for all, we have to be. Yes, and I hate having to say this, but it's what people will say. There are bad people. There are bad people in every walk of life. I can't judge Tabitha because of what his brother did. The same way I shouldn't be judged because of what my brother did. In the same way anyone else shouldn't be judged for what their friend or whoever did. I actually got interviewed on KFM shortly after. They asked for my opinion. And as I said, I didn't want to go personal because it's not my story to tell. But if a Newbridge man went into the pub and started a fight, you don't ban all Newbridge people.
Exactly.
So that's the way of looking at it. I'll go further then. I'll wrap up my point. In 2017 or 2018, my grandfather, who's also called James Stokes, he was a traveller activist as well. At the same time, it wasn't a funeral in this scenario. It was just pubs were not letting travellers in, no matter what the case is. My grandfather owns a furniture shop in the town. It's been open since the 80s or 90s, so he's in this local community. Everyone would know the furniture shop. They've shopped there for whatever it may be, the couches and beds, so they all know my family. They know he's a local man. And in 2017 or 18, I can't remember when it was, he held a town hall meeting with other travellers, with members of the guards, with local politicians and councillors. Like Councillor Joanne Pender was there when she was a councillor.
Lovely
And
woman.
there was maybe 100 or more people who showed up. And I said, look, if things don't change, we're going to protest. We're going to go into the pubs, no matter what the banter says, and we're just going to sit down and have a ribena. We're not going to get drunk. We're going to sit down and just send the message that this isn't acceptable. And we're going to go into every pub in the town and we're going to do this and people can call the guards to try to get us put out, but we're doing nothing wrong. Because it's not a thing of, they want to drink. It's a thing of they want to have a bit of a social life. They want to be able to sit down with their friends and have tell their stories and have their chats, which everyone should be entitled to do. So they went from that meeting and things actually changed. It changed for around 6 to 12 weeks. So 3 months or so, 2 to 3 months, where they were allowed in. And then they just stopped again. When the wind was gone from the sails, it went back to how it was. So that's a very blatant thing. That's pubs, and it's not just about pubs. There's an Irish senator, Eileen Flynn, who faces discrimination on a daily basis. There was a story told, and I don't want to say the name because I can't remember the name right now, on RTE last year or the year before, about a 12-year-old Irish traveller who took their life. Because when you look at the statistics, 1 in 10 travellers will take their life.
Wow.
There's no other group in Ireland actually that has as high statistics as that. So it's actually 11% of travellers will take their life for a group that represents not like a few percent of the population. I can't recite the statistics, so I don't know them, but off the top of my head, but 90-something% of people, and if it's not 90, it's somewhere high up there, do not want to associate with an Irish traveller, do not want a traveller part of their family. The discrimination and the racism against travellers is very open, and it's very accepted. You could see someone post on Facebook today, here, there's travellers on my green, whatever. There'll be 100 comments saying, get them off, or get them out, or call the guards, or they're dirt, and they're this, they're this. This level of hate, I just don't think could be accepted against any other group. So I'll try to wrap up my point there, and I'll let you come back in. You asked me one question, I think I went.
No, it's great.
Beyond.
This is it's easy to interview, so
Thanks.
yeah, no bother. No, I'm gonna bring it back to the point about discrimination, but I wanted to ask you about something you said earlier when you said you don't like to use the term settled.
Yeah.
Is there a specific reason for that?
It's not that it's like a slur or anything, because it's not, but I feel like I don't have to justify, like, there isn't, the same way there isn't different types of Newbridge people. We're all just, I'm a traveller the same way the person in the caravan is a traveller.
Yeah.
People have tried to put these terms on us, are you a settled traveller or not, trying to maybe differentiate them, like, are you this type of Newbridge man, or are you this type of, no. People use the term, so that's why I use it, so people would know what I'm talking about, because I don't know if you've heard it or anything, but I just don't think there's a need. I'm an Irish traveller, I live in a home, sure, I'm not a caravan, but I don't think I need to call myself a settled traveller. When I was younger, although we had our home, we'd go away for the summertime or whatever, but I'm just a traveller, the same way anyone else who is a traveller is a traveller. We have different lifestyles, but everyone has different lifestyles, and you don't call yourself something different because you're a lifestyle.
And you say you don't seem like a traveller to a lot of people, or even most people. Has that, would you say, led to you experiencing racism less than the average traveller? And also, I want to ask, I actually forgot the question I was going to ask.
Come back to me when I answer.
I'll come back to it, yeah.
Yes, I think I face less discrimination than the average traveller, because for some reason, and it's not something I describe myself, but like people have said, I would have never known you were a traveller, which I don't get what that means, but like there have been scenarios in school where I'm standing in the hallway with this teacher, and the teacher was just giving out to a group of first year, second year girls, and then she went, those travellers. Those traveller girls, that's what they said.
A teacher?
Yeah, and I'll tell you after which teacher it was. And I'm standing there, they obviously never knew I was a traveller. No, it's such an awkward scenario. And looking back, I wish I do say something and be like, what do you mean by that? because it's wrong, it's blatant, and it shouldn't be accepted, and I shouldn't be allowing it to be accepted
Exactly.
either as
Yeah.
anyone else should. But that's something I've learned, I suppose, through politics and being on the doors and whatever. Your question was, how do I face it less? Yes, because people think I'm not, but when they do, when they see my ID, or when I was running an election, and it's something I have to be proud about, because people like to think that if I didn't say I was a traveller, that I'd be ashamed of it while running for election, which I'm not.
Yeah.
So there were peaks. The more I'm talking about it, there's more discrimination.
Yeah.
But I think I go under the radar, and I'm not sure why. It could be I don't sound like one, I don't talk like one. But how does any one person sound or talk? We're not all the same.
Yeah. And obviously, travelers as a group, they're under so much scrutiny because of the stereotypes, the rumors about them, and the way they're seen in society. Has that influenced the way you act? You know, do you try and make up for the reputation by, you know, acting better or something
It's
like
not
that?
that I act better. Like, I'm just myself.
Yeah.
But like, you try to reason with people. So when I've heard so many times, and people probably think it's fine to say it, I would have never known you were a traveller. I just think that's such a crazy statement to make.
Yeah, it's actually really disrespectful.
Like, imagine saying, "Oh, I never knew you were," insert any race or ethnicity.
Yeah.
It's just an odd thing to say. What do you think I should look like then, or what do you think I should sound like?
It's
For
almost
outside
like
there.
for, you know, as a black person, when people tell me that I'm so well spoken or things like that, when like
Yeah,
English is my first language, why wouldn't I be?
like, there's a stereotype that travellers aren't meant to, or not aren't meant to, that they don't complete secondary school and they're just pulled out of school and have no care. Now, there is statistics to say that there is a bigger dropout rate and whatever, but this podcast will be a lot longer because it goes to lack of investment and failure by governments, successive governments, but I'm not going to go into that right now.
Yeah.
Bring me back to your question.
Does the scrutiny or the
Does
discrimination
it make me change? It makes me want to let people see that not all travellers are the way they view travellers.
Yeah.
So I don't judge people who say, Jesus, I never thought you'd be a traveller. I don't judge it. I find it odd. I don't judge it because this is how they're programmed. This is how they think.
Yeah.
But I think it's actually really important when people find out that I am a traveller and they go, you're not maybe what I imagined. Although I find it odd, I think it's probably better in the long run that they realise not all travellers are the way they have painted in their mind. So I don't be someone I'm not. I don't be fake in any way. I don't up myself or make myself more respectable. I just be who I am. And if people like that, fine. If they don't.
Yeah.
But I think from that, like in my politics, in my local political groups, there might have been people who've never actually interacted with a traveller.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just feel like it's so important to learn about people's cultures and their backgrounds, because it makes you a better and wiser person.
Yeah.
There was an event last year, early last year. It was hosted by Newbridge for All in the Royston Centre, and it brought people from all communities together. So there was people doing dance, and they had food and music or whatever it may have been. And I was asked to just do a little table on Irish travellers. I said sure, and I brought stuff because there's so much history and culture, and there's our own language that I know very little of, and it's that wider thing of government failure, but that's a different day.
Yeah.
There's so much culture there, and when people learn about it, and when people learn more about the people and stop thinking about stereotypes, the image changes. So I find it important to not hide that I am a traveller, that I'm open about who I am, because I think it breaks down barriers.
Yeah.
Hopefully, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I think.
Yeah, I think there's a certain tendency among like done to people like us, you know, people who are discriminated, where if people see somebody who doesn't fit the stereotype they have in their mind, it still won't change how they view. They'll just view you as, the odd one out or one of the good ones. And do you think about that often, or does that?
Yeah, I think that is definitely the case. There's good people in my life who I think have good values, and I still hear something slipping out sometimes.
Yeah.
And even if I'm a big part of their life, or I see them weekly, or whatever it is, and they know how I feel, and they've supported me, or whatever it may be, you can still see that there is still an underlying prejudice, whether it comes from being... No one's born racist or discriminating, so I don't know where it comes from. Is it school? Is it family? I'm not sure. Sometimes it fails. Sometimes people are the same, no matter what. They just think, you're nice, I like you.
Yeah.
Still wouldn't want another traveller living next to me.
Yeah.
But hopefully I'm not just the one they meet. They meet another, and they meet another, and they meet another. And maybe one day there'll be that impact. And I'm not the saviour of travellers.
Yeah.
I'm not the saviour of all cultures. But when people actually speak to each other, and they actually listen to each other, and they don't go in with a judgment already made,
Yeah.
I think it can make things a lot better. And I think things will get better.
Yeah.
Right now we're in a very... Not even against travellers, we're in a very weird time right now with racism against
the right wing is
migrants, and any person of colour, illegal or legal. I'm just using their words, but like what we've seen in recent weeks, and I'm not sure when this is coming out, so what we've seen in this period of time of hatred against Indians and attacks.
The poor little girl, she was six
the 6-year-old girl, and the man who was bed up and I think had his clothes stripped from him. Yeah. Hate is becoming a lot more accepted. So if I had this interview with you maybe 3 years ago, I would have said that I don't see anything other than discrimination against travellers, because it's so widely accepted, and if there's hate against any other group, I feel like it's really shot down. Mm-hmm. I think social media is becoming a real far-right echo chamber. Yeah. People think they're right to be doing what they're doing and right to be saying what they're saying. So I think that's why it is so important when there's groups like Newbridge for All who host a culture... I don't remember the name of the event. It was like a culture day. All cultures came together. I think at some point people speak to each other and learn about each other's history instead of just making a judgment and then letting yourself fill up with hate. I think I might have gone off your question, but there's my answer.
No, everything you're saying is very interesting, so it's not a problem if you do. One thing I wanted to ask as well is, what do you think people should do in their personal lives or when they're interacting in public to show support for travelers and to shoot down any discrimination they see?
Yeah, like, I'm not asking people to be the saviour and take the bullet for them, but when you're at home or you're at a family dinner and, I don't know, your uncle or your brother, your sister, your aunt, your mother, whoever it is, just says something that they're a good person and they have good values, and they say something that's just a step out of line. I think it's important. Education is so important. I go, yeah, look, it's fair for you to believe what you believe, but there is X, Y, and Z, and there is whatever the case may be. I think it's important we don't just jump into arguments with people. I think it's important we try to reason with them. Some people don't want to be reasoned with, and I think there's been a rise in that. But I think if people want to make the difference, you need to keep yourself educated so that you can keep others educated, and always have an open mind. You don't know anyone's history, traveller or not. So I think it's important, as I said in other answers, to talk and to listen and to not be afraid for communities to come together, because you learn from each other and you bond together. Yeah. We don't need to all be separate parts of society locked away in our own corners. Society's at best when it's all as one. Exactly. So, to summarise it, what people can do is, I'm not asking them to jump in front of a bullet or save the travellers. just speak up in your own spaces, in your own friend groups, when something is said, and maybe one day that person will speak up when they hear it. Hopefully. Maybe I'm too idealistic there and dreaming for too much, but...
No, I don't think you are. You have to hope, and you have to put your hope into action, I think. And
actually,
yeah.
when there is action, it is important to show up. So in your everyday life, do what I've just said. But if there is some protest against racism, or there is an act of defiance because of racism or whatever it may be, get involved and show your support. That's the best way to show your support, to send a message. But in your day-to-day life, the little subtle things can slowly, hopefully, make the change.
And have there been times in your life growing up or even now where you experienced discrimination and you expected the people around you to argue for you, to help you, and they didn't?
So there's been cases where I've been told discrimination has happened. And I'll come back to your questions. I'll be told someone said this. And I don't know, what's in my mind is, okay, what did you say back? And they never really said anything back, you know? And I think that's what I was trying to go earlier. If you just say, that's not really okay, maybe try, if you say this, it might be better, whatever. In my own life, maybe the cases of IDs in pubs, but I didn't want anyone to stand up for me there. I'm not trying to be a savior or send a message. I just think the best thing people can do is have an open mind and stand up for others when the time is right. Like right now is the time to stand up for the Indian community in Ireland because of something so blatant. Now is the time to stand up for migrants because of everything that's happening there, and refugees. So I just think we always need to be thinking of one another, whether it is the traveller community, whether it is migrants, whether it is the Indian community, whatever it might be. I think we should also have an open mind, because what might happen to you today could happen to me tomorrow. And I didn't defend you today, so you're not going to be here for me tomorrow.
Exactly, yeah.
That might make no sense, but
yeah, it makes perfect sense to me.
Makes perfect sense. We gotta stand up for each other.
Yeah, especially people like us and like who face discrimination, no matter how little or how small. Like, I'd love for there to be more dialogue and community, especially between travelers and Black people and all the groups of people in Ireland who face discrimination, because we can't count on the general Irish public, because they're the ones who benefit from our exclusion, you know? And yeah, I
think I wouldn't rule out the general Irish public. I'll always have hope in them. Maybe I'm fooled too, but I think, yes, people need to speak, sit together, be together, listen to each other, hear each other, speak one another, share stories, talk about your day, whatever it might be. Because there are so many good people, and there are so many good groups, and there are so many good people who are just a step in the wrong direction. And that can change, and that can make things way better. Like that story I brought up earlier about the 12-year-old Irish traveller boy who took his life. He was being bullied on the phone, and presumably in school, but he'd go home from school. How graphic can I speak on this?
Yeah, as much as you want.
He had his phone, and it was texts, and I don't recall what the text said, but they were bullying him, people in his class. He was in 5th class or 6th class. So he came home from school. Mum is making dinner, chips and whatever it might have been. He had a younger sister. Dad is, I don't remember, but Dad is there as well. And he went home, went upstairs. So if I'm mum and making the dinner, I'm not thinking anything. He took his own life in his bedroom. And I think it was the daughter who found him. And there was a roar. There was a scream. And obviously mum ran up the stairs. And I think when people write their comment, or when they send their message, or when they say their remark, no one thinks that the person on the other end is going to take their life. But I think it's something we always need to be aware of, that, especially for young people, especially for young travellers or any other group that faces discrimination. If I'm a 12-year-old on TikTok and all I'm seeing is hate against my people, you're not going to feel good about yourself.
Exactly, yeah.
And to lose a child is the worst scenario. And that documentary told the story of one child. And if you watch the documentary, the first 60 seconds show pictures and the names and the ages of every other minor traveller who took their life. The discrimination and racism isn't just humour, isn't just a joke. You don't just say it and it passes. It lives in some people and it causes them to die. Not to make it very sad, but the reason it's important to stand up for each other isn't just to let them drink in the pub. You know, it's not just they can sit on the train without being annoyed or harassed. Sometimes it's about saving people's lives, which is very important. And some people might think I'm being dramatic there, but it's true. And the statistics point to 11% to take their life. Over 50%, I can't remember the number, face discrimination daily. Over 50% of people said they would not employ a traveller. They would not be friends with a traveller. They would not want a traveller as a member of their family.
And do you think all of those statistics and pressure and just like violence, whether it's physical or verbal, that contributes to travelers not finishing school as much as other groups?
Yeah.
Or
like, I saw a divide, and I loved the school experience, but it's the wider topic of systemic failure. But I'll touch it here. Travellers get left behind, and it's statistically proven because of lack of investment from schools. So if schools wanted, they could have, well, if the government wanted, they could give schools homeschool liaisons, etc., etc. Not every school has one like our school did. And that supports travellers from keeping their attendance in. And actually, schools used to have traveller officers. They don't anymore. So there's been a lot of cutting of resources for traveller groups.
so a traveller office was a good thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, these are for travellers who might have actually been travelling and not settled. I started a job as an education support officer. I'm in a new job now, but one of the first things I saw was a traveller education support worker. The funding. So, in the last 15 years, the funding for traveller resources, whether it's in education, housing, health, whatever it may be, slashed and slashed and slashed and slashed and slashed and slashed. There is no national mental health strategy for travellers. The government doesn't care. They gave travellers ethnicity and they stopped there. So a lot more needs to be done. Because I'm not saying that given the funding will save a life, but when there's such a build-up of so many things and you don't even have the resource to turn to, whether it's a youth group or a support group or whatever it is, there should be every support possible to help our young people, traveller or not. So if I was the Taoiseach, I'd move heaven and earth to support every young person.
And
that's one of the ways to do it.
Yeah. And besides increasing funding, what other ways do you think the government should be supporting travellers more than they...
funding is the most important thing, because funding gives you everything you want. But I think the government needs to stop scapegoating travellers and scapegoating any other ethnic group or minority. It benefited the government for migrants to be attacked and discriminated against, and there have been times where it benefits them to have travellers be discriminated against. There's a story, and it was in the summer last year, and I think this year, of travellers on the Curragh, and every TD jumps on it. Every TD says, I've contacted the Minister for Defence and the Irish Army, and we will get these travellers removed. I went and met with the travellers.
Yeah.
Firstly, they were actually a religious group that were travelling around Europe, a Christian religious group. So not all of them were even travellers. Some of them were French, some of them were British, some were Irish. And they wanted to get a skip, but it wasn't allowed under Curragh. So they were cleaning up the rubbish after them, but they were getting loads of hate while there. Every TD, as I said, jumped on the bandwagon. This cannot be allowed, blah, blah, blah. Instead of engaging with communities, instead of meeting with people where they are. And maybe they would have, but that would not have gotten the same likes on Facebook, the same support. Because if you check any of the comments on these Facebook posts, and it's unpopular for me to say this, all of them are in support saying, get them off, whatever, whatever. In some cases, rubbish is left behind. Excuse me. In some cases, there aren't rubbish left behind. But no matter what, it's an instant jump to discrimination and hate. And if there was actual, bring back the funding, I can't remember the exact term, areas where you can stop with your caravan and your trailers. And if there was actually more investment in halting sites, stuff like this wouldn't happen. But the government probably don't mind a bit of anti-traveller rhetoric every now and then, because they get to say, oh, we got them off the car, look at us, every year. That's one instance. I don't even remember what the question was anymore. That happens a lot, I ramble, but there's so much more to be done.
Yeah. And so we've spoken about what people should do in their personal lives and such to help travelers. Are there any groups that you're a part of or that you know of that are doing work nationwide or in Newbridge that people should check out?
Well, there's traveller groups. There's the Irish Traveller Movement, which is a nationwide one. There's Minkers Widden about traveller women. There's Kildare Traveller Action in Kildare locally. Support travellers with education, health, and anything, and most other things. Those are traveller specific, but I think there's also Newbridge for All, which is a group about promoting all diversity in Newbridge, because it's necessary and it's about uplifting people and not dividing people. Those would be the first ones that come to my head. I suppose this group here, Clare UT or Crooked House, for having these conversations are important.
Yeah.
Whether one person listens, that's one more person who's heard this story. So there are so many groups that people can engage with, but there's also good people you can engage with. So I suppose I'm coming from the political perspective. So obviously if there's ever someone who wanted, they could engage with myself, but they could also engage with the likes of Senator Eileen Flynn, who's a traveller herself and a great activist. But it's important to note not all travellers have the same view, which some people like to think. Some travellers like to think that because they think this Eileen Flynn should do this and because they think this I should do this. We're all our own people. Yeah. So there's good group, there's good people you can engage with. Yeah.
Thank you, James Stokes, for this interview. If you have any last words to say, anything you want to tell whoever is going to watch, now is the time.
Well, firstly, thanks again for having me. And I think the one thing I probably said the most throughout the interview was how important it is to actually have the conversations amongst people and to hear other people. Because when you are educated, you can educate others. So no matter who you're speaking to, whether they are an Irish traveller, whether they are any other minority, or whether they are not, whether they are whatever they might be, go in with an open mind. Don't have prejudgments. Don't listen to a stereotype. Make your own conclusion. That's where I'll end.
Thank you. And that's where we're going to end the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, James.